Every year, 4 million people walk a narrow boardwalk inches above water that can exceed 200 degrees. The crust beyond the railing looks solid, but it can give way in a single step. In 2022, a bison charged a family along that very edge. At least 22 people have died in Yellowstone's thermal features since 1890. What separates a vacation photo from a fatal misstep may be thinner than you think. Thermal features in Yellowstone are anything but uniform. According to geothermal scientists, temperatures differ dramatically from one pool to the next, and even from season to season. The often quoted figure of 200 degrees Fahrenheit serves as a warning, not a universal measurement. Grand Prismatic Spring, for example, reaches about 192 degrees at its center, while some pools in Norris Geyser Basin have been recorded above 200 degrees. Historical surveys from the 1970s even documented brief spikes near 250 degrees in the Norris Soda Springs area during periods of volcanic unrest. These numbers are based on spot measurements, not continuous monitoring, and remain unverified for every feature. What's clear is that each spring is its own hazard, shaped by location, chemistry, and time of year. Beneath Yellowstone's boardwalks, the ground tells a hidden story. Magma heats groundwater until it's superheated and often acidic, rising to the surface through cracks. As this water cools, it leaves behind a thin layer of silica, sometimes just 1 to 3 millimeters thick. This crust may look solid, but it's fragile, especially where high acidity eats away at the surface or where a rush of cool air causes thermal shock. Underneath, hydrothermal activity can hollow out pockets, leaving only a delicate veneer between visitors and scalding water. The boardwalk isn't just a path for sightseeing. It's engineered to keep families safely above terrain that can give way with a single misstep. Yellowstone's official record tells a sobering story. At least 22 people have lost their lives to hot springs and thermal pools since 1890, as confirmed by park historians and search and rescue teams. These deaths are not the result of a single type of mistake. Some visitors fell while trying to capture photographs, like David Allen Kerwin in 1981, who slipped from a Norris Geyser Basin boardwalk and landed in a pool measured at 215 degrees Fahrenheit. Others, such as Sarah Hulfers in 2000, left the safety of the Upper Geyser Basin boardwalk during a night hike and broke through thin crust, succumbing to fatal scalding injuries. The circumstances vary, daylight or darkness, accident or risk-taking, but the pattern is clear. Leaving the boardwalk, even for a moment, can mean stepping onto ground that cannot hold your weight. Severe burns and drownings have been recorded in at least 20 other incidents, all tied to that same invisible danger just beneath the surface. Colin Scott's final steps in Yellowstone are documented with precise, if sobering, detail. In June 2016, Scott left the Norris Geyser Basin boardwalk and walked an estimated 225 yards across restricted terrain, as later logged by GPS in the Ranger's incident report. The area he entered, known as the Center Terrace Pool, was measured at approximately 216 degrees Fahrenheit and carried a reported pH of 1.8, an extremely acidic environment, though both figures remain unverified by continuous monitoring. When Scott slipped and fell through the crust, the response involved 2 rangers, a USGS scientist, and local fire personnel. According to Incident Report number 2016, NGB, Scott, after 3 hours of searching, no physical remains could be recovered. Ranger Emily Henderson, who led the search, later explained that the combination of high heat and acidity likely accelerated the dissolution of organic material, a conclusion supported by USGS specialist Dr. Michael Parker. Water sampling confirmed a corrosive pool, reinforcing the reality that, in some cases, nothing is left to recover. Cade Seamers, age 48, set out for a walk near Old Faithful's Biscuit Basin after watching a late afternoon geyser show. Without a flashlight and with the sun dipping behind the lodgepole pines, he left the boardwalk and moved into shadowed terrain. The crust, uneven and barely visible in the fading light, caught his foot. Seamers tripped and plunged into a hot spring measured near 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Rangers later found a shoe, a baseball cap, and an empty beer can at the scene, marking the spot where he fell. He managed to crawl back to the Old Faithful Inn and call for help. Third-degree burns covered nearly half his body. A helicopter carried him to a trauma center, where he spent 48 hours in intensive care and survived. Park Safety Officer James Miller later explained that after-dark travel in thermal areas demands proper illumination. The boardwalk is the only safe route, especially when dusk turns the ground into a maze of hidden risks. On June 12, 2022, the giant geyser boardwalk was crowded with weekend visitors when a herd of bison moved into the area. Among them, a bull bison began edging closer to a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children who had paused on the walkway. The family stopped, watching warily, but didn't fully back away. The bull slowed, hesitated just yards away, then turned aside. For a moment, the tension seemed to break, but the animal returned, this time with renewed force. In the second charge, the bull rushed forward, targeting the group. A 34-year-old man from Colorado was struck in the thigh, the bison's horn causing deep arterial damage. Park medics responded within minutes, applying field dressings to stem the bleeding before transporting him to a hospital. He survived, but the injury was severe enough to require ongoing medical care. During the same incident, a 69-year-old woman was knocked off balance and suffered a broken wrist as she fell against the boardwalk railing. The official National Park Service report, incident number 2022, GGEA, Bison, classifies the event as a wildlife-related injury. Nowhere in the documentation is there evidence that the family was physically pushed off the boardwalk, nor does it record anyone being forced into a thermal feature. The term pushed appears only in later media coverage, not in the park's own account. What happened was a classic bison charge. A massive animal reacting to humans who stopped but did not retreat, then escalating when the distance was not increased. This incident, while dramatic, was not a thermal area accident. No one fell into a hot spring, and the ground beneath the boardwalk remained intact. The danger came from underestimating a wild animal's speed and unpredictability, not from the fragile crust or boiling water below. The facts are clear. The injuries resulted from a bison's behavior, not from anyone being forced off the safety of the route. Bison rarely attack without warning, and their signals are often misunderstood or missed entirely in the excitement of a Yellowstone visit. According to park wildlife rangers, a bull bison's agitation is usually clear: a sudden snort, a raised head, or a pause with its tail switching. These are not idle gestures. As Ranger Karen Lopez has explained, a bison that stops and lifts its head is sizing up the situation, deciding whether to move away or take action. When people linger instead of backing off, the animal may escalate from bluff to charge. The risk grows when a crowd blocks the boardwalk or when children drift toward the edge. Bison are unpredictable, but their personal space is not negotiable. If a family stays put after an initial approach, the animal is more likely to test boundaries with a second, more forceful rush. The 2022 giant geyser incident followed this pattern. The bull's first pass was a warning. The family's decision to remain in place, hemmed in by other visitors, left them with no clear route to retreat. Experts urge families to keep children within arm's reach and to avoid clustering near the end of a boardwalk where escape is difficult. When a bison appears ahead, the safest choice is to slowly move back the way you came, keeping the animal in view and giving it room. Even a few extra feet can make the difference between a tense encounter and a dangerous one. In Yellowstone, respecting the signals of wildlife is as essential as staying on the boardwalk itself. Every incident in Yellowstone that draws headlines or sparks debate must be checked against the official record. Take the 2024 penalty issued to Pierce Brosnan for stepping onto a restricted boardwalk at Mammoth Hot Springs. The National Park Service's press release and court filing confirm a $500 fine and a $1,000 community service payment, but no jail time or felony charge. This stands as one of the few high-profile enforcement actions on record, and the details come directly from the district court's judgment, not second-hand reports. Other stories demand even stricter scrutiny. The widely circulated account of a bison falling into Grand Prismatic Spring in June 2025 does not appear in any NPS incident log, wildlife mortality database, or local news archive up to the middle of 2026. Claims about Carl Issa McDaniel's injuries at Bridge Bay Campground and a subsequent child chase in July 2026 also lack confirmation from park records or local authorities. Without a clear statement from the National Park Service or a court document, these reports remain unverified and are excluded here. Even annual rescue numbers require caution. The NPS Annual Safety Summary for 2024 lists 2 documented rescues from boardwalk areas, both involving children. Any broader claim about rescue frequency or injury rates must be grounded in these official summaries, not in estimates or social media posts. In Yellowstone, only the facts recorded by the park or local agencies are included in the public record. Yellowstone's safety rules are direct and leave little room for interpretation. The park's official instruction is clear: never run, push, or shove in thermal areas or near wildlife. These aren't just suggestions, they're mandatory for everyone on the boardwalk. For families, this means keeping children within arm's reach at all times, especially in areas where bison are present. The designated route is not an optional viewpoint. It's the only safe path across ground that may look solid but can break underfoot. When wildlife is nearby, the minimum distance from bison is 25 feet. But if a bison shows agitation, like snorting or raising its head, visitors are expected to back away until at least 50 feet separates them. Feeding or approaching bison is strictly prohibited, as is lingering after a charge. If a bison rushes, the safest action is to leave the area calmly, never crowding or attempting to get closer. With more than 4 million people visiting each year, these basic rules are what stand between a memorable trip and a life-altering accident. Yellowstone's beauty doesn't pause for inattention or second chances. Every year, millions cross ground where a single misstep or moment's hesitation can be catastrophic. Danger here isn't just natural, it's a test of judgment. In this landscape, respect for the rules isn't caution, it's survival.